Welcome back to Redstone with Dave.
And Baker. So
Okay.
now let's go to sorters. And so this is just a big explanation of all the stuff that we'll be using later on
Okay.
or today. So right now, this is a sorter. And if you look in this hopper, you'll see
Mm,
so if you look in
okay.
at hopper, you see how it's filtering those out. So it's sucking those through, correct? This hopper, so sorry, the one that I am staring.
Oh, the one at the top here. Okay,
Well,
yeah.
just the one that I'm staring at. So
Okay.
there's some items in there. So that's what we're sorting.
I see.
And then I'll get into the other version of that you need to use if you want to have them next to each other. So I'm going to put a little bit of quartz. So you can look in the chest. I'm going to put 6 quartz and 6 tulips into this chest. And so these hoppers would normally just carry it all the way over here and down here and over here to this chest. So this is the chest of, well, in this case, it would also be here because.
Right.
So I will also make a tulip sorter. And so now I will be putting in some tulips, some quartz, this, this.
Oh,
So I'm going to be putting into this chest. So right now we're sorting.
okay.
So these things will be selecting and filtering
I see.
quartz blocks and red tulips. And then everything else will go through this big chain of hoppers. It'll go down here, and then it'll go over here, and then it'll go into this chest.
Okay, but you put them in this big chest. This big chest to start, and then does it immediately kind of fall through? Is that what's going on? And then it starts.
It's not instant. You'll see.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put some items in here. I just put 4 redstone lamps,
Oh, okay.
5 quartz blocks, and then I'm gonna put in a minecart and a hopper. So just like random items. And
Okay.
then as it cycles through, and I'm pretty sure it's already done. So now we look in this chest and we see there's 5 quartz blocks, just like we were sorting. And we come over and look in this chest.
Where'd you go? Oh, there you are.
And there are 5 red tulips.
Ah, very nice.
We come and look in this chest over here, which was sort of our waste, so everything else chest. It has exactly what I put it in: 4 redstone lamps, minecart, and a hopper.
Okay, so which part is doing the sorting, or how are you?
So the really clever part about this is it uses the fact that comparators can detect how full an item is, how full a container is, and also that hoppers can suck items out from you. So
Okay.
hoppers, do you know this about hoppers, that they can transport items? So
Well, I have seen that before, but I don't. I've never really understood how it works.
so basically, if I put um, I'll put 8 chests in this top chest, and then these hoppers will suck them out of the chest, pull it down, put it into this hopper, and then these hoppers will make it travel sideways and then go into this chest. And so they're, because I placed this hopper. So hoppers also have a specific way of being placed. So if you notice, if I do this and I place it, look up, and I place it into this block, you see how it's pointing into that block?
Yes.
So if I put a chest there and then have some stuff on top of it and put some items in there, it'll go into this hopper, and then this hopper will push it into this chest. So now
Okay.
there are a couple of items in this chest. And in the same way, you can also have hoppers traveling downwards. And so what I did earlier is basically a big chain of these. And so something important to note here is that if I place this hopper like this and try it again, now there's nothing in the chest, and it's all in the hopper, because the hopper isn't pointed towards this.
Okay.
But hoppers also have two things. They have sucking from containers above them, like how this hopper sucks from the chest above it.
Mm-hmm.
But hoppers are also containers. So if we have a chest here and a hopper below it, so even though this hopper isn't pointing down, it can still transport items, because this hopper gets some chests. So the first one up on top gets items, and then the one below it sucks those items out and then puts them in this chest.
Okay.
So you can actually transport items down twice as fast, because not only do you get a down, so by pointing the hoppers down like this, and now it's pointing downwards, right?
Yeah.
So now the hopper on the bottom will actually receive items twice as fast, because at that interval it sucks one item, and then this hopper also places one item into. So if you'll notice, if I put 8 more items in here, this one, or well, if I just to make this easier to see, so if I put 8 items, you notice this increments in 2s. So I'll put a bunch of items in the top, and so look at the hopper on the bottom. See how it increments in? It's very quick,
Yeah.
and it's almost incrementing in 2s.
It's pretty fast.
So compare that to this speed.
Okay.
So it's not super noticeable, but it is slower.
It's a little bit slower. Yeah.
So it's actually half as fast.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that's what we're using here. And these sorters take advantage of a couple of those properties. So notice how this hopper doesn't point downwards, right?
This
So I'll actually use a system to mark.
Oh, this.
I will place green wool next to the ones that I am talking.
Okay.
I'm talking about that hopper, right?
Okay.
So that hopper has some items in it, and it's not pointed downwards.
Right.
So the only way it transports items downwards is if the hopper below it sucks.
Okay.
So the hopper below it is a terrible guy. He's just really rude, and he sucks. He will always suck items, except when he's powered, like by this redstone torch. So if I have this line of hoppers going into a chest to this, the name tag's in the way. Not name tag, armor stand. And then I have a redstone torch here, and I put some wonderful items in this chest. They get stopped in the hopper that's powered, because this hopper cannot suck items. So if you notice, if I have another hopper or some other container like a dropper up here, and I put some stuff in it, it doesn't lose anything. That dropper stays full of items, and this hopper stays full of items. So a hopper that's powered can receive items if a hopper points into it, because those hoppers are putting their items into this hopper.
Okay, then how do you decide to, like, how do you get the hopper to point down?
So it's sort of the opposite of piston. So it's basically you place it on a surface and it points towards that surface. Okay. So over here, I'm going to place it on the side of this block, and it will go like that.
Okay.
And it's pointed into that block. And so I could have a block here, and if I place it on that block, it goes sideways. And if I place it on the ground, it goes like that. And hoppers also don't point up, because Minecraft decided. So if I do that, it just points straight.
There is gravity in Minecraft.
Sort of. So even though I'm placing upwards, that just points it straight.
Okay.
but if I point it on that side of the block, it points into the.
Gotcha.
So a hopper that's powered can only receive items. It can't suck items from containers above it, and it can't transport more items out of it. So what we're doing right now to this hopper marked with some lovely green wool. So this hopper,
It is lovely.
so it's the one that's right here. So how about this? There we go. Now it's very clear.
Okay,
So that hopper is powered. So it has one quartz block in it, and it can't move that quartz block because it is powered, and it can't move that quartz block into this container, even though it's pointed into that hopper. So the hopper next to it, you see how it's pointed into it? It is pointed into it.
Yeah.
So, but because it's powered, it can't move. And it also can't suck items from the one above it. So there's a bunch of items in here, but they aren't being lost because the power hopper below it is powered.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So this hopper is totally full of only the blocks, the item we want to sort. Right?
The one on the bottom here, right?
Sorry, I'll mark it.
Okay. It's that one.
It's totally full. So if another, it can't take any other type of item because we've filled it with, right?
Okay.
So you couldn't put a lime wool in here. So like it couldn't get a lime wool from the hopper above it because it's full of this block. So there's no other slot for some other type of item to take up, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So, and that hopper just so happens to have 22 items in it, which is the correct ratio for just under 2 redstone dust. So if 23 items go in that hopper, this redstone dust will extend to 2. And once it gets to this block, because this comparator is detecting how much items is in that hopper, right?
Yeah.
This repeater powers, turning off the torch, which means that the hopper below it is no longer powered, and so it takes a couple of the items that are until the level gets below the wanted level, which is 22 again, because once it's at 22, this redstone stops being powered, which turns off the repeater, and then the torch turns back on because it's an inverter. So you can just watch that and you can see. So right now there's a bunch of items in the hopper, and it's now powered, and this redstone torch is depowered. So the hopper can now transmit items. The hopper below it can suck items from the hopper above it and transport them eventually into this chest.
Okay.
37 items into that hopper. And if you notice again, there's once again 22 items because that's right where that number stops. Because that's right where the sort stops.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's how the sorter works. And if you wanted to have a bunch next to each other, you'd have to do something like this. So you can place these right next to each other, assuming you do a couple of things like put a block above here so that this redstone doesn't connect. Because otherwise, if you had redstone dust right there, it would connect, and you don't want that. And then the same goes for right here, because there's redstone dust on this block, and without that block, they would connect, like so. But if you have that block there, they don't. So
okay. Okay, so this is
you can't put these right next to each other, so that way, yeah. So these are the 2 types that you would need. They do the exact same thing, and so basically, in this case, once it gets to 2 power, this piston extends its block, the torch powers the block, which then powers this redstone dust, and then this redstone dust turns off the torch, which does the same.
Okay, and then how did I get like the stop and go kind of motions of it, like
yeah.
But then how did you get it to recognize different items, or is that some sort of voodoo?
We just simply made, so basically these are the same thing. They do the exact same thing. They're just built differently, so you can put them really close together.
Okay.
So I mean, I probably should do that for
Because before it
one.
was almost like it recognized the different items and put them right where they were supposed to go.
Yeah. So that's because we had two of them.
Oh, okay. So
So it
has
sorted
more to
two
do with
types of
the so
items.
it has more to do with the number of items than the actual types of items. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Now you notice that these are right next to each other, and there's no intersection, so they still work regardless.
Yeah.
So you could have two of these right next to each other. Chest right there. Yeah. Down. In. So now they're right next to each other. It's just there's a couple of hoppers here to separate them out. So these can be right next to each other and still work. So basically, what we're doing here is we're filtering out the tulips in this other one. So this one, the one horizontally next to it.
Okay.
So we're filtering tulips, and then in this one, we are filtering blocks of quartz. So we just have two of them. So
Okay.
any item that isn't a tulip or quartz goes over here, and once it gets to here, the hopper below will suck it if it's a block of quartz, but if it's something like this lime wool, it'll just go over, and then it'll go up here, and it's like, hey, can I put you into my inventory? The hopper below it, this one, says, hey, can I put this lime wool into my inventory? Oh no, I'm totally full of red tulips. I can't do that. So I can't accept the item. So it's going to go on to the next hopper. So it goes here. So that suck is more powerful than the sideways transmission.
Okay.
So even if you have a bunch of quartz blocks in here, this hopper will always suck up a quartz block before it goes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Cool.
then all of the other items go through here along this chain, go all the way over here, and then get in this.
That makes sense. Okay. Sweet.